Have you ever wondered why a child does the things that they do, such as picking their nose or having to play with or touch everything that they pass in the store? As a student in elementary education, I have studied for countless hours and for many different topics on learning the topics of a child's brain and imagination. Jean Piaget was a psychologist who studied the child's brain in different developmental stages that they should be in during certain ages of their life. His research was then brought together, and he called them the stages of cognitive development. Piaget's first stage of cognitive development is the sensory motor stage. The sensory motor stage of the child's development typically takes place from the time a child is born to the time the child is about 2 years old. The sensory motor stage takes place when the child starts to develop motor responses and become aware of their senses. Motor responses are a child's ability to squeeze someone's hand, move around, and even blinking or opening their mouths. The child's object permanence is also now starting to become developed during this stage. Object permanence is a child knowing that an object is there. When a child is playing hide and seek and thinks that the person disappears, the child doesn't have object permanence. The pre-operational stage is the next stage of development and is a very important stage for the child's thinking. The pre-operational stage takes place when the child is 2 to 7 years old. During the pre-operational stage, basic thoughts, imagination, syntax, and grammar are more easily accessible. Even though these things become more developed, complex, abstract thought is still difficult for the child. Conversation is also developed during this stage. Conversation starts when the child starts to make real words and have real conversation with each other, their parents, and their teachers. The concrete operational stage begins when the child starts to get older. The third stage, the concrete operational, can take place when the child is 7 until they're about 11 years old. During this stage, time, space, and quantity are understood and applied. Even though the concepts of time, space, and quantity are understood, they are not understood as separate concepts. They are only understood together. Logic also starts to be applied during this stage. While logic is being applied, the child starts to think logically and rationally. The final stage is the formal operational stage. In the formal operational stage, it deals with the child's thinking as well as their morals when the child is 11 years old or older. Theoretical, hypothetical, and counterfactual thinking starts to step more into the picture. While their different thinking starts to step into the picture, their abstract logic and reasoning steps in order to help with their newfound thinking skills. The child is now able to plan as well as strategize with their thinking. While the ability to strategize is being developed, concepts learned in one context can now be applied to another. And in conclusion, Jean Piaget was a very well-known and very informative scientist who studied the development of the child and made the cognitive development theory. The stages of cognitive development frame different ages and stages of all years of childhood.